Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for a former friend's daughter's college? I'm male 37, had a friend Roy, male 37, when I was in high school. We were friends for years prior to graduating and remained friends some years after. I considered him my best friend. At one point he had a daughter, May, and I became her godfather at his and his partner's request. At the time, I was still living with a bunch of friends from high school, one of which was my roommate Taylor and his brother Jordan. Roy split with his wife during this time, and since I was his closest friend, I convinced the other guys to let Roy move in. Jordan had never liked me from the get-go and attempted to drive wedges between my friends and I. He did this whenever I wasn't around, and I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until it was too late. He'd make shrewd comments about my girlfriend being out of my league and my career amongst other things. And a few people who remained my friends told me in more detail that he lied about me, like saying I had trashed the kitchen when it was really him. And despite them trying to defend me, their words fell on deaf ears. I wasn't aware, but apparently even Roy believed Jordan. Our lease was ending near this point, and Jordan, Taylor, and Roy had plotted behind my back to kick me out. We live in a 5-bedroom, and one of our roommates was leaving. But because of Jordan, many of my friends were uncomfortable moving in with me. So, they decided to kick me out to bring 2 new people in, informing me about a month before the lease ended. I was betrayed and hurt, most of all by Roy, the person I considered a brother. After I got kicked out, I struggled on my own for a while. I was 24 at the time, and I had a decent job, which is the only reason I made it on my own, even if it was just barely. That career set me up well for my future, to the point that I now live very comfortably to say the least. Flash forward about 6 years later, and Jordan drunkenly told Taylor and Roy that he had purposely gotten me kicked out, and that devolved into him spilling his guts about the situation. Turns out he was jealous of my girlfriend, who is now my wife, and how easy my life looked. Roy and the others attempted to reconcile, and though I tried, it never felt right. I remained low contact. That brings us to now. May graduated, and they asked me to help pay for her college since I'm her godfather. I refused, based on the events of over 10 years ago now, and the fact that I hadn't been treated like her godfather in over a decade. He, his family, and my mother all seem to think I'm in the wrong, while my wife is annoyed they have the balls to ask. I genuinely don't feel like I am, but I'm sick of being pestered by so many. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for college? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Never heard of a godparent being asked to help pay for college, especially when they haven't been involved in a kid's life. Ignore them. Who came up with that? Someone who didn't save for their own kid's education. I'm with your wife here. They have a lot of nerve. Not the a-hole. She is absolutely fuming at this. She was with me through the whole experience, so she knows firsthand how much this hurt me when it happened. I didn't think I was the a-hole, but so many people are on me about it that I wasn't sure. Not the a-hole. Listen to your wife who has been by your side when your best friend who knew you better than anyone stabbed you in the back. Your ex-best friend's entitlement is astounding. So are you just supposed to forget all the hurt he has caused you? And the fact that due to his actions, you had no relationship with your godchild all those years and just quite happily hand over your money? Just no. And all those people saying you should pay, well, turn it around on them and ask them how much they are willing to pay. I bet you the excuses will be fast and furious. You're right. Honestly, thinking about it, it makes me really proud she has my back. I couldn't ask for a better spouse. She is everything. I'm proud to call myself hers. And that is also a great point. It isn't some small fee. May is going to need a lot for her engineering classes. I don't know how much anyone else is even contributing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my 22 female friend, 21 female, for demanding I pay rent for my apartment? My friend Dee and I have been living in the apartment my parents own for college. We split utility bills, while she also pays 300 euros for rent. It's 2 bedrooms, living room, kitchen, and a half bathrooms in a nice area. And 300 euros is not nearly how much rent for that place would cost under normal circumstances. Nevertheless, our parents are civil with each other, so the massive discount was agreed upon on the premise that we split utility. I don't pay rent as my parents own it, but work and spend my own money for daily needs and groceries. Dee doesn't either. Her parents pay everything. So for a year now, Dee has been inviting her college friend, who I'll call Amy, to study at our place, sometimes sleep over. Amy lives off campus, but in a really dodgy area with her older brother and his friend. More than a month ago, Dee asked if Amy can stay over for a week. I told her no problem because I had a vacation set for that time. When I got back 9 days later, she was still at our place. So I asked Dee when Amy was going home, as I had planned for my friend to come over for the weekend. She told me Amy got into a fight with her brother and didn't want to be there right now. I was annoyed, but I never found an issue with Amy, so I just asked she leave until the end of the week. She didn't. 3 weeks passed and bills came in, which were almost double of what they were previously. I sat down Dee, gave her a rundown of the bills, and she seemed surprised. She told me I'm not paying that much. I looked at her and made a joke. Yeah, you're not. Your dad is. Dee got angry and went into her room. I thought the joke didn't land well, so I knocked on her door to apologize. But I overheard Dee ranting how I don't pay for anything, so I wouldn't understand why her parents are mad. I entered the room, told Amy to pick up her stuff and leave. She seemed embarrassed, but 20 minutes later she left. I asked Dee what she meant by that, and she said, "The bills are twice as much as last month's, and Dad is going insane over why he has to pay this much when you even had a guest over." I told her she's a hypocrite if she thinks my friend staying over for a weekend affected the bills nearly as much as Amy living here for a month. She told me I'm heartless for blaming Amy, who was having a hard time, for the increased bills, and screamed I should contribute more to them. Then she called her dad in the bathroom and demanded that I pay rent too, because it's unfair. I told her she's insane if she thinks I should pay rent in my own apartment, and that she has until the start of the semester to find another place and move out. Dee started crying and throwing some towels on the ground. She did move out a few days ago, and we haven't spoken since, but Amy texted me apologizing for burdening me. My parents told me it wasn't my decision to make, even though they agree. Now, I'm not sure if I was an a-hole for making her move out or for how I acted towards both her and Amy. Not the a-hole. It's just pure logic. People are too soft and illogical these days. If she feels so inclined to help someone out, then she should do so from her own pocket. Exactly. Help your friend all you want, but not on somebody else's dime. Yep, some people just don't get how they're forcing problems onto other people, and when confronted, want to say stuff about moral high ground. Sorry that sucks, but it literally has nothing to do with OP's life. I once had a roommate who would take in stray animals, then criticize me for not helping out. I'd say, you chose this charity, not me. Apparently, this made me a selfish a-hole. Not the a-hole. It's done and sorted. Move on and study well. Thank you. Not the a-hole. Rooming with a friend is a great way to lose a friend. Find a roommate who seems responsible and charge the full rent. Yep, better to be roommates before friends. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling a friend that I can't be there after her F-buddy died? My friend started seeing a guy who told her he was married and had kids. He just wanted a physical relationship, and she was okay with that, she said. 6 months later, she was mad that he didn't want to leave his wife for her, and she went to tell his wife. So that ended their little setup, but his wife forgave him. 4 years later, my friend contacts him again on Facebook. She apologizes and tells him that now she is ready for just a physical relationship. Everything's going great, until 6 months later, and after a quick morning session, he tells my friend he's not feeling well. He drives home and dies after getting home. My friend finds out because she doesn't hear from him for some days and calls a mutual friend of theirs who tells her. She's hysterical when she calls me. I get that it's a shock, and then his wife found her secret messages on his phone. My friend finds out the date of his burial and she insists she's going. I tell her not to. She attends, but his sister tells her to go home. Every time we talk, she's talking about him and how she's visiting his grave and is leaving little trinkets, hearts and frames by his grave. I ask her if she has thought about how his wife and kids might feel about this, but she insists that she's in mourning and this is her way of dealing with it. I might be insensitive, but I tell her I find it disrespectful, and that if this was her husband, would she want her dead husband's F-buddy doing that? So in her own words, I'm insensitive and probably an a-hole. I'm just confused because she has told me many times that their rendezvous was just physical and that's all she wanted. So am I the a-hole for putting some distance between this friend and myself and not being there as much as I probably would have had it been a friend or family member of hers who had died? Edit. I know many are questioning my own morals by being her friend. There are many things I wish I had done differently. After his death, she called me and was hysterical. Her wanting to go to his funeral and now visiting his grave is something I've talked to her out of. I've never supported any of what she's doing with this guy. We've known each other since we were little, as how our moms know each other and all that. So it's gonna create some contention. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I would distance myself from someone that thought all of that was acceptable. She thinks you are insensitive? Says the mistress who showed up at his funeral. Wow. Yeah, this is not a situation I would want to be anywhere close to. Fully agreed, not the a-hole, but you will beat yourself if you don't GTFO before you get caught up in something worse. Not the a-hole. Why are you friends with someone who thinks it's okay to behave like this? At the moment, we're low contact. If we speak, I tell her my opinion about these visits she's making to his grave. So I'm definitely the minority here. But what your friend is experiencing is called disenfranchised grief. It happens when a person's grief is deemed unacceptable due to societal norms. She needs to see a therapist, or her behavior may worsen. What she has done is wrong, but people do not always have a rational reaction to grief. Also, she's getting a lot of hate in these comments, but the only person responsible for this man's wife's feelings is the guy who is dead now. I can't stand a cheater. He's ruined multiple lives, and is not even here anymore to answer for it. Cheaters are the worst, but homewreckers are a close second. I don't know why she's morally in the clear for hooking up with a married man, just because she's not the one in the relationship. People have a responsibility to demonstrate a basic level of decency and concern for the lives and feelings of others, even strangers. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend it was too damn bad she was uncomfortable? I work as a kind of personal assistant / art handler and organizer to an individual with an extensive collection. It's an interesting job, and I get a lot of opportunities for new experiences and invitations to events. My boss and I do not have the same tastes in art. He's an older, very traditional guy, and that reflects in the events I get invited to and the people that I'm interacting with at these events. We have a world-famous opera in our city, and I was gifted 2 tickets to the opera last weekend, with an invitation to attend a pre-show cocktail party in a private area. This was not a work event for me, but still a networking opportunity and a gift from my boss's personal friend. My fiancé was visiting family, so I invited my friend Sarah to join me. She arrived at my house Saturday afternoon to get ready with me. She had brought a dress to wear that I didn't think she should. It was very pretty, but more like a club dress than an event dress. Bright pink and very short. And our opera is known for a no dress code, just be fabulous approach, so it was fine for the venue itself. But I knew the pre-party was going to be an older, more traditional opera dress crowd. I myself wore a deep green floor-length dress for reference. I offered her the option of choosing something out of my closet, and told her that I thought she might be uncomfortable at a party because of the type of group they were. But she wanted to wear that dress, so I didn't push it. At a party, most of the attendees didn't seem interested in engaging with her, and while outwardly polite, it did feel like they were equally uncomfortable with her presence, as she was being there. She stayed next to me the whole time, which was fine, but she was sullen and kept grabbing my arm to whisper in my ear that we should leave. After the 3rd time, Sarah pulled me out of the conversation and told me she wanted us to leave the party. I got irritated and told her it was too damn bad that she was uncomfortable. I warned her. There are 2 bars out in the public area. She could go hang out there and I'd join her in an hour for the show, but I couldn't leave yet without looking bad. I might not have been working, but I accepted the invitation. And now my behavior here reflects on my boss. And that ultimately affects my job, regardless of it not being officially work. Sarah stayed at a party instead, and eventually it was over and we attended a show. She didn't speak to me at all on the drive home, and texted me after I dropped her off that she was upset by the way I had treated her, and that I should have left when she wanted. I think that's unfair. I talk about my job all the time, and she knows very well that expectations are placed on me at these events, and how I am expected to act. I tried to tell her, but obviously I wasn't going to force her to change. But she's still mad, and a mutual friend is guilting me for not caring about Sarah's comfort. And I'm starting to feel a little bad. And I don't know, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Fair warning was given prior to the event, as well as an opportunity to change attire. That being said, I don't know the extent of the warning given, and perhaps a bit more detailed explanation should be given next time to ensure the individual in question knows exactly what might occur. Sometimes communicating a warning doesn't match the level of internal concern due to not wanting to insult the person, resulting in them not thinking too much about it, and it may be possible that was the case. Her feelings are somewhat justified, as it sucks being judged like that. But as mentioned, you're not the a-hole here. I just want to add though, while I'm sure there was judgment, Sarah's behavior probably made it worse than just wearing an inappropriate outfit. When you're uncomfortable, you can appear standoffish. Additionally, it sounds like Sarah was standing next to OP the entire time, while also choosing not to engage with others. She pulled OP out of 3 separate conversations. How rude! She was whispering, which is also rude, and obviously wanted to leave with her body language. And she saw OP's formal floor-length dress, so that should have been enough of a clue. OP, in the future, make sure to only bring people who are comfortable holding their own. The seeing OP's formal-length dress is the big thing for me. I feel like if you're the +1 for an event, you should be matching the formality level as the one bringing you along. Especially if you're an outsider, you don't want to be standing out because of the clothes you wear. If anything, Sarah should have been coordinating with OP before even leaving her home to make sure her outfit would be appropriate. Not the a-hole. Sarah came as your guest to what she knew was a career-related function for you. She insisted on dressing inappropriately when advised against it, and her repeated demands that you leave because she was as uncomfortable as you told her she would be were immature and self-absorbed. And so was her refusal to retreat to an area where she might be more comfortable and let you finish working the room. So is her sulking and involving another friend who wasn't there, knows only her side of the story and should STF you instead of getting in the middle. I predict you'll find yourself outgrowing friends like Sarah in about 5, 4, 3, 2.